So not too long ago, CXCD posted a video talking about the canon ships in My Little Pony, or which characters canonically ended up in a relationship. Check out that video if you haven't already. But today, I'm going to be a little scamp and piggyback off this idea, as I'm going to be talking about the ships in My Little Pony that never became canon. A lot of you may stop and ask, well, how do you establish those parameters? Technically, any character could be shipped with any other character, so if they don't happen, are you going to be covering them as non-canonical? That would take forever. But here's the thing, I'm going to be looking at the relationships that the show itself played around with before deconfirming them, or just never followed up on them. And oh boy, there sure are a lot. The first and most obvious example is Big Mac and Marble Pie. Now this isn't Big Mac's first run-in with love, as he and Cheerilee were put under a love potion before breaking free of it. The two didn't actually have any real love for each other, and all that was left is friendly flirting and not much else. But Marble Pie is the first time the show tried to make a dedicated effort at a relationship between Big Mac and another character. The key idea of the two characters who don't talk being smitten with one another is kind of obvious, if it wasn't for one issue. You know what I'm going to say, the issue between them is that they are cousins. Now let's be fair, they are only cousins in name alone. The Pie family and Apple family are not related by blood, but they share traditions and family activities with one another. Family isn't always who you're born to, so I get why the relationship was ultimately cut off. But it was a hard watch to see Big Mac in a committed relationship and seeing Marble's reaction of heartbreak. It's surprisingly mean-spirited for My Little Pony, and I'm shocked we never got any sort of proper conclusion. MOP was never really a show for relationship drama, but man oh man did they find a way to make it happen through Equestria Girls, thanks to one, or should I say two, Twilight Sparkles. In the first Equestria Girls movie, our pony Twilight comes through a portal and becomes a human. High school hijinks ensues to find a magical crown, yada yada yada. You guys want to hear me talk about Brad, right? Flash Sentry, who I'm just going to be calling Brad for this video, was Twilight's main love interest in the film. And then later back in the main series, there were a few nods to the pony version of Brad. But nothing would end up being officially confirmed between them because Twilight is a horse girly and Brad is a chud. Especially since the real human version of Twilight falls for... Sorry, I need to Google this guy's name. Timber Spruce? I'm just gonna call him Chad. If that sounds confusing, then blame the movies. These two were basically the same character. So Chad phantom cucks Brad, and Brad is basically a background character for the rest of the Equestria Girls series. But they didn't really do anything with Chad either. Him and Twilight danced together or go on a date that one time, and that's it. They never really officially became an item. And that likely has to do with Katrina Hadley trying her damnedest to get Twilight and Sunset off the ground as the endgame relationship. Like, their romantic tension in these movies is so thick you could cut it with a knife. The reason why none of these relationships ever got a proper conclusion is because we never received a fifth Equestria Girls movie that could have tied together the loose ends. If I were to take a guess in a hypothetical fifth movie, Twilight and Sunset would have been the endgame ship, but they wouldn't really say anything explicit because Hasbro is scared of gay people. Taking a quick detour away from Equestria Girls and back to our regularly scheduled program, there is a funny throwaway line in the season 5 finale where Applejack references ship names, specifically referencing Pinky Bow and Flutterdash. Okay, this is a partial lie. The ship name for Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash is more colloquially known as Pinky Dash, but it still has the same effect, especially considering it's paired right next to Flutterdash. I'm guessing they just didn't want to double up with a name that has dash as a suffix again. Which, side tangent, I think both of the Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash ship names kind of suck. Like, come on guys, Rainbow Pie was right there. Of course, each character would end up in their own canon relationships. Rainbow Dash with Applejack, Pinkie Pie with Cheese Sandwich, and Fluttershy with Discord. Now before you leave your comments, there's no way in hell Fluttercorda isn't canon. I mean, the show itself quite literally says it out loud. But it is worth mentioning that Katrina Hadley was a Flutterdash shipper, as seen in this incredible print with a variety of her other ships. The aforementioned Twilight x Sunset, Applejack x Rarity, who were intended to be a canon relationship within Equestria Girls, so you could consider it half canon, Lyra x Bonbon, which is the only confirmed relationship here, Trixie x Starlight, a polyamorous ship with Wallflower, Rose, and Aqua Blossom, and seemingly a second polyamorous ship between all three members of the CMC, Katrina You are actually insane. I know Lyra and Bonbon are the only confirmed relationship here, but come on guys, there is no way they didn't at least consider Trixie and Starlight. I mentioned in my video where I discussed absent parents in My Little Pony that Jim Miller and Josh Haber basically shot down the idea of Starlight x Sunburst, with them saying that Luster Dawn is either related to Starlight or Sunburst, but not both of them. Something about Starlight and Trixie's relationship just reads as romantic. Wait, I'm getting off topic, this is about the confirmed ships. There were two ships that I was surprised wasn't even entertained in the show itself despite being so popular amongst the fandom. First is Derpy and Dr. Hose, which has been a popular fandom ship since season 1. When Derpy and the Doctor finally interacted in the show itself, they read more like siblings than a romantic couple, and according to the CXCD video I'm plagiarizing off of, they were supposed to be siblings, but ultimately backed down from this idea, and I'm guessing they didn't follow through because the backlash would probably be insane. This would make all romantic fan art of these two retroactively incest art, which I'm sure would be the biggest blunder in this series' history. The second ship that I was surprised never got any confirmation was DJ Pone 3 and Octavia Medley. These two were almost destined to be a couple, both musicians but completely opposite genres, and in the law of fictional relationships, opposites attract. They were even confirmed to be roommates, but they just tolerate each other rather than have any romantic tension. But if there was any ship that I'm so overwhelmingly glad they killed in its tracks, it would be Spike x Rarity. It being just a childhood crush was fine, but the amount of people who unironically thought it was going to be endgame were either too young to understand what grooming is, or an adult that needs to be put under investigation. Not just Rarity, but Applejack too, because of that one episode where Spike tries to become her servant. Both of these were so bizarrely common in popular fan projects and fan fictions that I'm relieved that this was the one part of the fandom I'm happy they didn't lean into. God, imagine the implication of leaning into this if Equestria Girls' Rarity is a human and Spike is a dog. Someone make a horror fanfiction inspired by Baxter with that premise, please. I'm gonna stop these questions because I think I've rambled on long enough. This video was a doozy, and I'm sure that there are tons of deconfirmed ships that I overlooked. I haven't even touched the comics, I don't know what's going on over there. I think there was this one panel where Sweetie Belle cuddled with a Spike plushie, but I don't think that went anywhere. And man, I also didn't talk about G5 either. Well, I guess all ships there are deconfirmed because I never got a proper conclusion to begin with. Well, now I'm going to turn the question on to you guys. Were there any My Little Pony ships that were deconfirmed that I'd missed? Were there any that you wished were canon? Or alternatively, were there any that you're glad isn't canon? But that's all the time I have for today. Thank you for watching. I've been May, and I'll see you next time.